one of the things that we were looking at, and Mark and I were talking about just before we got started here, is these bills are different. The Senate, and at least what we think we see in the Senate, and this House bill that the Speaker announced yesterday. The House bill squeaks in just under this theoretical $900 billion cap. On the top line. I know you're skeptical of that, but let's talk about how they're paid for, because they're very different funding streams. They are different. The House bill is bigger. It has more spending. It actually is projected to increase health care spending significantly, unlike the Senate bill. And in terms of financing, the House bill relies a lot more on new tax revenues from people earning over $500,000 a year, individuals, and $1 million a year as couples. And also it does more on squeezing down prices in the Medicare program across the board, for drugs, for providers, across the board. There's something in here that you and I as budget nerds find interesting, is the way that the public option, which has gotten so much attention, well, the way prices would be set there. They're negotiated. They're not pegged to Medicare. What's the industry result of that? Under the House version, this is not a Medicare-based pricing system, and the Congressional Budget Office, the budget experts, expect as a result that prices are going to be a bit higher than they would be in the Medicare program. That, plus the fact that the public option is expected to attract somewhat sicker and higher cost beneficiaries, means that in this bill, the public option would actually be more expensive than the private plans. So private industry, in that respect, they might actually earn a little more. And we've heard that the public option squeezes them out, but maybe not if prices are negotiated. Well, it's certainly less threatening to private industry than a Medicare-based public option would be. I think the worry among industry and among many of the business groups, the Business Roundtable and others, is that it wouldn't stay that way. If costs were high in this program, leading to bigger deficits, there would be a lot of pressure to go to tighter price controls and make it more complicated for private industry that way. Let's talk about another thing that affects businesses a lot, hasn't gotten as much coverage, is the employer mandate. In the House bill, if you've got a payroll up above, what, $700,000, you could end up paying an 8% tax of your payroll if you do not provide health coverage. The Senate has a much weaker employer mandate, at least in the finance bill. Where do you think this shakes out for companies that provide health coverage? I think companies should be expecting that if this legislation passes, they will be paying some kind of fee if they don't offer coverage to their employees and their employees don't take it up. The fee will probably sort out to be somewhere between the two bills. I don't think it's going to end up being as high as 8% a payroll tax. That's pretty significant, but it may end up being larger than in the Senate bill. All right, we don't have a lot of time, but I'm going to make you do a crystal ball thing. Tell me when you think that the House and the Senate might actually come together on a real package. Well, Lizzie, the key factor here is the moderates, particularly the moderates in the Senate. As according to all the information that's out there, they're still looking for a plan that has a more modest public option even than in the House bill, and probably will be more like the Senate bill in terms of spending levels and financing.